There's a lot of rules online on how to create a product, on how to market a product, and exactly what's important in between. But I'm going to show you today what are my top 7 rules for marketing your course, coaching program, or online digital product. So if you have a knowledge, if you have an expertise, if you know how to do something, if you've done it for longer than 2 years, like I have with my avenue of making money, which is solar lead gen, solar sales, and teaching others how to get their shit together in solar. If you have that for yourself, maybe you know how to build websites, maybe you know how to trade, maybe you understand crypto, whatever it might be, you have a skill because you've dedicated your entire life for the past 2 years doing that. And I believe we're in a digital age where information has never mattered more. So I'm telling you, if you have an audience, or even if you don't have an audience, but you have an expertise or knowledge about a certain topic, you should definitely think about creating your online product or course, which I can help you with. So you can hit me up on Instagram and I can give you some pointers. All right, so here's my 7 rules of marketing your course or product online. The first ever thing I want to start off with is knowing your audience. Who do you sell to? You have to understand what your audience is. And you might think,
well, yeah, that's super obvious. Of course, I'm going to have an audience.
Yeah, but I've had people that have literally told me my audience is basically about everybody. And I'm like, if you think everyone's your audience, then I'm here to tell you that you do not understand who your actual audience is. You have a lot of figuring out to do before you start to make money with the thing or knowledge or expertise that you have. Why? Because if you post something online or if you do an ad or what have you, any sort of way to market your knowledge or expertise, you have to call them out. You have to call out the specific audience, whether that's lawyers, whether that's accountants, whether that is solar professionals. One of my mentors, for example, he taught nurses how to pass their board exam. It is absolutely insane. And that business alone, which is literally just selling information, he does 8 figures a year with that business model. And so I'm here to tell you that the reason why he was able to succeed at such a high level is because number 1, his products was very, very good. But number 2, which I think is even more important, is that he nailed his audience down to a T. Why? Because when he does something online, when he tries to get somebody's attention, he always talk about their pain points, which will be my point number 2, which is their pain point. What is something that your target audience like really hates about the thing that you can help him with? For example, with him, he's calling out people that have failed their NCLEX exam before or their board exam before. Very specific audience, not just people who are studying for their exam, but people who've already failed and don't want to go through the burden of doing it again, because failing an exam more than once is demoralizing for everybody. He hits on that pain so well that it just resonates with the people that don't want to experience that emotion ever again. And so that's why his ads and his promotions online work so well. And so if you want to have success marketing your product or coaching program online, you have to know what their pain is. Number 3, now that you have an expertise and knowledge that you can share with people, you have to make it into a product, okay? I'm here to tell you that there's a lot of people that can create products and they know how to do certain things, but the products they create are very, very subpar. They're not very good. And that doesn't necessarily mean the person doesn't know what they're talking about. It's just that that was their original idea and they put it together and then they just sold it to everybody. And that's not how it's supposed to work. The way it's supposed to work is to figure out what your ideal audience journey would be from point A to point B and literally record information or videos or, have resources that are hitting every single point they need to go through before they get to their destination, which will be point B. So that's literally what it is. Selling an information product or course or a coaching program is you're getting somebody from point A, which is whatever they're at right now, and you're getting them to point B, and everything else in between is what your course or coaching program is going to be about, and it has to solve their biggest problem. And the only way for you to figure out what that is by talking to your audience. You got to have conversations. The reason why I knew what my audience wanted is because I've had 100 conversations before figuring out, okay, cool, so my audience is this. What could happen is you could create a product and you could think you know your audience, and then all of a sudden 1 out of the 3, for example, sells the most, and not only sells the most, but you can also help the most. And so you have to figure out what that sub audience is and nail that, because riches are in the niches. Number 4, you got to have a product market fit. I can't tell you how important this is. People just don't freaking get it. You can't sell ice cream to an Eskimo. You cannot do that. You have to know what they want and and you have to give it to them, and you have to know if the market's ripe enough. For example, when I created my first product, I knew I was going to be one of the first people that does that. And then a lot of people after me, they started to follow through and they'd be like, okay, this guy is doing it, so maybe I should do something like this. It doesn't mean that nobody's doing it. It just means that the market wasn't ripe enough, and just at the time nobody was doing it. So the more awareness there is on the subject, and your ideal audience will start to become aware, and they're going to want it more and more. So that's how it usually works. So you have to have a market that you can sell to, and you have to have people that can actually afford your course or service. And if you can have a product market fit, which is the thing that you have an audience to sell it to, game over. Number 5, once you've created the entire product, it's most likely not going to be perfect. And it's not because you're not that type of individual who makes perfect things. I'm not saying that. It's just, it is impossible to get it right the first time. So you have to be open to feedback, and you have to seek it out. If you don't seek out feedback, which I wasn't when I created my first product, that is an absolute no-no, because you're not going to be able to help the most people that you want to help, and you're not going to be able to sell the most items that you want to sell, because at the end of the day, what your goal is to try the product better every single time somebody gives you feedback. And you have to be able to tell between somebody trying to make a valid point and genuinely help you make the product even better, or are they just hating, because the line is very, very thin. Point number 6 will be monitor and adapt. Is everybody actually reaching their point B? If they're not reaching their point B, what is keeping them from reaching point B? Because your product might be perfect. You might be showing the perfect steps in order to get to their destination. But if a lot of people are not hitting their goal, there's something wrong with it. Just like in a classroom, if you have nobody getting what the teacher's trying to say, it's not anybody's fault. It's the teacher's fault. But if you have most people get it and a few people don't get it, then you know it's not the teacher's fault, because most people from the class actually got what they're trying to say. And so it's the same exact thing when it comes to your product. You have to think, okay, is there certain individuals that just can't get it because maybe, I don't know, they can't invest themselves enough into the action taking part? Because a lot of people, I call them success zombies, where they just buy a course, buy a coaching program, buy something else, and they expect that to make them into the success they envisioned in their mind. And if nobody's getting to their destination, which is the point B, I like to call it, is something on your end you gotta fix. And that's why monitoring and adapting is extremely important. And the more you accept the feedback, monitor and adapt, iterate the product and try and make it better every single time somebody gives you feedback, more and more people are gonna want to buy it, and you're gonna feel better about selling it every single time you know that you've made progress at making your product or coaching program better. The last but not least, I'm gonna tell you this, and it's super important. If you haven't started already, start building your personal brand. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how to start. If you know some type of information, share it with the world. Don't just keep it to yourself, because most of the time, especially if you're trying to run ads or if you're trying to expand your business, nobody knows who you are. And what happens is you're making the sales process 10 times harder than if you had a personal brand. Look at the people that have a personal brand. Look at not just the most successful people like Warren Buffett, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and whatever. If they told you, hey, would you pay me $100,000 and I'll teach you how to be a billionaire, would you have a problem really like getting that $100,000? No, because you know it's probably guaranteed what they're gonna tell you is gonna work, and you're probably gonna be able to make $1 billion, because you value that information so much, not because of the information itself, not because no one else knows what they know, but because of the individual that's selling it to you. And it's the same exact thing with your online product or course. All right, so I hope these 7 rules help you a lot. I know they will, because if you apply them, you're gonna make massive progress. If you're thinking about creating a course and you want to start advertising it, you want to, figure out how to get your knowledge and expertise out there into the world and sell it, I can help you with that. Just hit me up on Instagram, or you can schedule a call down below, and I'd love to have a chat with you on how we can do that. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you again in the next video.